Hey everyone, and welcome back to another 5 Ways video by Attack Magazine. This is the series where we show you 5 different ways to use a particular piece of gear. In this video, we're going to be checking out the 8200 model EQ by Pulsar Audio. This is a faithful emulation of the GML 8200 hardware unit that adds some extra additional features such as high and low cut filters, a tilt filter, air and sub bands, and a de-esser. This is an incredibly musical EQ capable of some very natural and transparent results and very smooth EQ curves. So in this video, we're going to be checking out 5 unique ways we can use this plugin in our own productions. So let's not mess about and let's get straight into our first sound. So we'll kick off by EQing this drum group we have here. Due to its subtle application and transparent sound, the 8200 EQ is excellent at EQing bus groups or indeed the master channel. We'll focus mainly here on the panel found towards the bottom of the plugin, where you'll see the high pass, low pass, air, sub and tilt filters. Let's begin by rolling off any frequencies below 30 Hz, which should tighten up the bottom end a little. And then using the sub filter, let's boost this by a considerable amount, maybe around 7 dB. To compensate, let's roll off a touch in the lower mids, dipping around 1 or 2 dB around 200 Hz. And now by replicating this approach at the other end of the frequency spectrum, by rolling off anything above 18K, let's say, and by boosting the air filter by 4 dB, we can add some sparkle to the drum group without it sounding harsh. Another great feature of the 8200 is the gain scale. This acts as a master gain knob for all bands, an effective method for scaling back all of the frequency bands with one simple gesture, and excellent for fine-tuning the frequency balance of your EQ. A quick A/B reveals that although the changes are subtle, we've quickly added some punch in the lows whilst brightening up the tops of this drum group. Now let's check out the tilt filter on the 8200. This control applies a constant slope to the entire frequency spectrum, allowing you to readjust the balance of the whole EQ, and is a great tool for efficiently auditioning different EQ styles. I've added some quite extreme frequency boosts to this synth, and with the auto gain mode engaged, we can A/B much more effectively as the output level will be adjusted accordingly, so there's no changes in the perceived loudness. As you can hear, the 8200 is adding some fizz to the high mids on this synth. Now let's sweep the tilt filter to hear the effects. As you can hear, by sweeping up to the right, we're adding brightness and clarity whilst dipping the bass frequencies, and roll to the left, we achieve a much deeper, bassy tone, providing more power in the lower mids. And I actually think this is a really nice tool for quickly altering the mood of the sound, depending on what style of EQ you're going for. Okay, for this third sound, we'll engage the mid-side switch on the 8200. Mid-side processing works by separating a stereo signal into 2 components. The mid channel contains just the information that appears in both the left and right channels, and the side channel contains all the information that differs between the left and right channels. The 8200 gives us the option to audition both the mid and side channels separately, and of course we also have the option to EQ each independently, and this is a great technique for adding some width to certain sounds to help them pop out of the mix. So let's focus our attention on the side channel. For starters, generally speaking, you don't want too much width on the lower frequency sounds, so we can begin by sweeping away some low frequency from our side channel using the high pass filter, sweeping this up to 200 Hz, and on the lower mid frequency, let's roll this up to around 7 dB and sweep the frequency to 250 Hz. Let's also add a generous boost at around 500 Hz, around 8 dB should do the trick. And boost around 4 or 5 dB at 4K too. A final AB reveals a lovely amount of width has been dialed in without altering the overall feel of the sound too much. Next up, let's check out the de-esser on the 8200. We'll begin by processing a vocal and then look at taming some harsh resonant frequencies on a tops loop using the same technique. So listening to this vocal, we could use the 8200 to reduce some sibilant frequencies slightly. Turning the de-esser on, we can audition the affected frequency range by holding shift whilst sweeping the frequency control. And also by activating this button found here, we can audition the attenuated part of the signal, allowing us to hone in on and reduce the troublesome or sibilant frequencies.
Is it okay to feel this pain? Is it okay to feel this pain? Is it okay to feel this pain?
To demonstrate that the de-esser isn't only for use on vocals, let's try out the same approach on this tops loop that contains some resonant frequencies. Again, holding shift while sweeping the frequency control, we can identify that around 3K is where most of the resonant frequency content is. And then dialing up the amount control to around 25 does the trick to reduce some of these resonant frequencies. Okay, so for our fifth and final sound, let's dive into something a little bit more experimental. Taking this sample loop, we can actually isolate the hi-hats within the loop by engaging the de-esser. Using the button for soloing the attenuated signal being processed by the de-esser. Of course, we can then adjust the frequency and amount controls to taste. Obviously, this is not what the de-esser has been designed for, but in fact, on full frequency sample loops like this one, it's actually a really cool way to not only generate some interesting results, but also to isolate some sounds like the hi-hats from this loop, to use them in a completely different way. Okay, so that's it for this 5 ways video using the 8200 EQ. As always, thanks for tuning in, and if you're enjoying our content, don't forget to like and subscribe below to stay up to date with the latest videos from Attack Magazine. And if you are interested in learning more about the 8200 EQ, or indeed any of the Pulsar audio plugins, we've also dropped a link below in the description box so you can go and have a look for yourself.